Good evening, I'm Angela Lim. The top stories on News 5. History in the making. US President Donald Trump arrives in Singapore ahead of the Trump-Kim summit on Tuesday. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arrived earlier in the day and has met Prime Minister Lee Hsien-loong at the Istana. And it's all systems go for the Trump-Kim summit on Tuesday with heightened security in parts of Singapore. Our top story tonight, US President Donald Trump has landed in Singapore ahead of his historic summit with Kim Jong-un on Tuesday. Mr. Trump arrived at Paya Lebar Air Base aboard Air Force One less than an hour ago, and he's on his way to Shangri-La Hotel, where he'll be staying for the next few days. Now, our correspondent Simon Marks is standing by near Shangri-La Hotel off Orchard Road. He joins us live now to tell us more about President Trump's arrival. Now, Simon, what does Mr. Trump's itinerary look like before his big meeting with Kim Jong-un on Tuesday?
Well, Angela, I think immediately on his itinerary is the opportunity to get some rest. He's now in the Shangri-La Hotel. Behind me, you can see some other government vehicles beginning to arrive now at the hotel and make their way through security into the Shangri-La compound. But President Trump is inside the hotel. He arrived within the last few minutes after completing that mammoth journey from the G7 summit in Canada through Crete and then on to Singapore for his summit meeting with Kim Jong-un. On his agenda tomorrow morning is a meeting with the Prime Minister. Just as Kim Jong-un travelled to the Istana for his meeting with Prime Minister Lee, so President Trump will do the same tomorrow morning, and that will give the Prime Minister, I think, a unique opportunity to get a real sense of where Donald Trump's head is ahead of this meeting with Kim Jong-un. Earlier in the day, he engaged in some intemperate activity on Twitter with regard to the G7 summit that he had just left. He hasn't had much to say on Twitter since then. Let's see if he takes to Twitter tonight and looks forward to advancing the prospects for peace and harmony in the Korean Peninsula.
Well, Simon, you're currently at the Shangri-La Hotel. It does seem to be a go-to place for visiting American leaders, hasn't it?
Yes, very much so. And the Americans are very comfortable with the hotel. Past US presidents have stayed here. And of course, it's the home to the annual Shangri-La Dialogue, which brings the entire American national security infrastructure, if you like, the top levels of national security, defense and foreign policy in government to Singapore on an annual basis. And so I think that's one of the reasons why they may have picked this as Donald Trump's home here in Singapore until he heads to Sentosa for his meeting with Kim Jong-un on Tuesday morning. They're comfortable with the place, they know it, they like it, and from a security perspective, they've run all the various traps in the past and they know how to exist back in there.
Right. Well, speaking of Tuesday, two worlds collide when Donald Trump meets Kim Jong-un then. Now, will the US, you think, hold on to its demand for the comprehensive denuclearization of North Korea?
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to. I mean, the sands have shifted, as you know, beneath this summit. It's been off, it's been on, it's obviously happening now. President Trump used to say he would only meet Kim Jong-un if he could get the full nuclear deal that he wants to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. The North Koreans have made it clear that's not going to happen over a brief conversation, if indeed it is a brief conversation, on Tuesday morning. And since then, President Trump has accepted, I think, that this is a first getting-to-know-you session. Before he left Canada, he said he would know within the first minute of meeting Kim Jong-un whether the North Korean leader was serious about trying to bring about peace on the Korean Peninsula. And he said that while this is a one-time shot for the North Koreans to prove that they're serious about that conversation, he now realizes that this is going to take ongoing dialogue in order to try and push that process forwards.
Well, Simon, what would would a successful Trump-Kim summit look like from the perspective of the Trump administration?
Well, Donald Trump, I think we can safely assume, is going to declare this a success come what may. In his terms, a successful summit, I suspect, judging from what US officials have been suggesting, will be one in which there is some kind of a commitment to begin the process of ending formally the Korean War, which has never formally ended on paper, and also perhaps some kind of commitment to begin a conversation about diplomatic recognition by the US of North Korea and the opening of a US embassy in North Korea. But those will just be agreements to talk more. It seems at the moment unlikely that this is going to end with any kind of groundbreaking piece of paper that either ends the war or opens an embassy. But the Trump team will say just by beginning that process, both, either, let's see what happens, just by beginning that process, President Donald Trump will have advanced the course for peace in the region.
Right. Thanks so much for those updates, Simon. And that was Simon Marks reporting live from near Shangri-La Hotel, where Trump and his delegation will be staying for the duration of the summit. Now, still ahead in News 5, North Korean